We want to tell you thanks for staying with us and thanks for being with us day after day here at WESN. This is how we're going to begin today's edition of AM Prime. I'm Andy Johnson once again. Let's tell you what's happening this morning. Among other things, we're continuing to discuss in detail and as much as is possible the issues surrounding the collapse of the case against former Attorney General Anand Ramlogan and his associate Gerald Ramdeen in what was considered to have been a major corruption case of bribery, the alleged allegation of bribery to a King's Counsel now, Vincent Nelson, for getting briefs from the state under Mr. Ramlogan's tenure as Attorney General. Now, that case has collapsed because Mr. Nelson has decided that he's not going to testify unless he gets indemnity from paying some $2.3 million that he had to pay for the consequences of his alleged involvement in the matter. And that matter exploded in the court on Monday. Lots of discussions about it. The question is, and the Attorney General now, Reginald Amor, is saying that he will continue to, well, first of all, he said that he was shocked and surprised by what happened. And now he will not rest until he finds some means by which Mr. Nelson can be brought to Trinidad to testify in the matter. There was a high drama yesterday, again, with a news conference called by the leader of the opposition, saying that at the center of this is the actions of the current attorney, the former Attorney General, Faris El-Rawi, who in fact made the arrangement under which this matter was coming to court, with Mr. Nelson coming as major state witness in it. And she's saying that he should now resign or be fired because of his actions in it. What he did, he arranged the fact that Mr. Nelson was going to turn as state witness, and she's saying that he should be removed because of what has happened now. He responded while in the House of Representatives yesterday at the conclusion of the budget debate. He's saying he has noted the statements made by Mrs. Prasad Bisesa concerning Vincent Nelson, Anand Ramlogan, and Gerald Ramdeen after yesterday's news conference. That was on the day before. He said, I flatly reject those allegations. And he said he would be addressing the media this morning on the matter. He said other things further than that. So we want to spend some time on that in a few minutes from now. At the first segment of the program, we'll tell you what else is on the other side of that. But we take a break. And when we come back, Rekha Ramjet, an attorney operating mainly in San Fernando and in Chaguanas, helping us out on understanding the legalistics behind these moves. Stay with us.
What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers?
Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best.
I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in-depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WESN,
the content capital.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix-It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
The best for your baby is at thebesttoys.com. From the best strollers, car seats, baby carriers, high chairs, booster seats, rockers, jumpers and bouncers, walkers, baby blankets, feeding accessories, bathtubs. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship McBean. Shop online now at thebesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 332-BABY. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
Today I'm excited because we're talking about medicine the Gray's way. Yes, we're talking to Dr. Raquel Supir from Gray's Medical.
Because now I realized, like, the secret, the key. If you give somebody the body they want or the confidence that they're looking for, and you make sure that they know that they have to work really hard to keep it, guess what? They're going to be really healthy.
Tell us a little bit about stretching and the importance of what it is or what it does to your body.
It is really important to stretch your muscles. You can stretch before and after working out. It can limit or reduce your injury, also able to improve your flexibility.
What's up, Doc? Tuesdays and Thursdays here on WESN, Content Capital.
What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers?
Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best.
I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WESN,
the Content Capital.
Saturday, November 5th, Shore Park, Tobago. It's Million Laughs Caribbean Comedy Commerce, the mega laugh festival to end the Tobago Carnival season, featuring Tobago's finest in folklore and musical entertainment, together with some of the Caribbean's top comedians, Larry Joseph, Daryl the Saint Mendoza, Dolores, Alan the Entertainer, Handsome Son, Mako Media, and more. Get your ticket specials available on Island E-Tickets and various outlets nationwide, or visit the Million Laughs handles for more info. It's Comedy Commerce in Tobago, a wee kind of commerce.
Welcome back. Well, we could also tell you that among the things we're talking about this morning, we're looking at the goings-on, you want to call it that, in the elections for the new executive of the ruling party, the People's National Movement. We're getting two views on that, one from a former General Secretary Ashton Ford, and the other somebody's running for the position of chairman of the party. Attorney Hove Masaisai. We'll get to those things. Lots of action and anxiety going on there as well. But right now, we're talking about this matter that hit the front pages of the newspapers a day ago, and it continues to be the same today. Occupy umbrella, pride of place. If you want to use pride as a term, in fact, to describe what is happening here. Rekha Ramjit is an attorney. She's also in the political mix. She's been involved in politics, been a chairman of a party that went up for elections a couple of years ago. So on both sides of this issue we're coming from, she has some experience. The question is the fact that a key witness in this corruption case against the former Attorney General Anand Ramlogan and his associate Gerald Ramdeen has been, well, cat-spraddled is the term that we could use, because Mr. Nelson, that's the man's name, he's decided not to testify again against these gentlemen. The question is that he was paid bribes, more than $1 million in one case, because of or he paid the bribes to the former Attorney General. That is the allegation, because that Attorney General, Anand Ramlogan, gave him huge state briefs. He decided he's not going to testify. He's not living in the country. He's outside. The question is whether he can come back. It was a surprise, and people are praising the way in which the Director of Public Prosecutions, who didn't have anything to do with how this matter was constructed in the first place, he decided that there was no case for anybody to answer because Mr. Nelson has decided that he's not going to come and give testimony. What has happened here? Rekha Ramjit, thanks for joining us, and thanks for trying to help us get behind this. Where do you want to start?
Good morning, Andy, and good morning to your viewers and listeners. As usual, it's always a pleasure to be speaking with you. I just want to correct one thing that you said. It's not that there is no case to answer. What the DPP, Mr. Gaspard, in his wisdom, and I absolutely agree with his decision, he has decided that at this present time, there is not sufficient for him to mount a prosecution's case. And it is because his key witness has refused to attend to give evidence at this point in time. Therefore, the way it's handled always means that there is the possibility that the charges may be laid again if and when Attorney Nelson, QC Nelson, is willing to give evidence. So it is not entirely true that there's no case to answer. It is a delay in the prosecution's case. And at that point in time, when and if Mr. Nelson decides to give evidence, whether or not that will be an astute route to take, having regard to the fact of the circumstances under which the case had to be withdrawn. Now, according to criminal law, under Section 15C, the DPP could have asked that a written statement sworn to by Mr. Nelson be put into evidence. But he has to satisfy the court that there is good and just reason why that statement should be put in as evidence, having regard to the fact that it is, as he says, the only evidence, the cogent evidence that is being relied on by the state. He has to show one of 5 reasons. Either Mr. Nelson is deceased, which he's not. He's unable to attend because of a mental or physical disability, which is not. That he cannot be found, which he's not. That he has suffered threats from persons associated with the matter, which he has not claimed. Or that the state fears that they will not be able to provide protection for him if he gives evidence, which is not. So that it would have been difficult for the DPP to justify putting in his statement only. And therefore, as he has said, he's not outrightly refused to give evidence. He said he's waiting until a civil case, which opens a whole new can of worms, as it will, before he can give evidence. But even if at some later stage, Andy, he decides to give evidence after his matter is settled, at that point in time, the credibility of Mr. Nelson is shot. Even at this stage, if he were to come to give evidence, it would be after he has entered into a plea agreement for a very serious offense. And therefore, he would not be considered a man of good character, and his credibility is again shot. So I think the DPP in his wisdom, and as I said, which I find he's operated with integrity and above board, is that he's wasting the country's resources in pursuing this this case at this point in time.
All right, so let's understand it. So he was fined in the matter because he admitted to wrongdoing, $2.something million.
$2.25 million he was charged.
Yes.
He was fined.
Right, and he wants that cleared. He wants not to have to pay that money.
Well, I mean, I don't understand how he can make such a claim. I mean, he's a lawyer of the highest order, and I don't understand how he can want not to pay that money. Unless, of course, there are terms of his plea agreement and the indemnity which he entered into allows him to do that. Otherwise, I don't see how that is happening.
And from what you know, that is not the case.
But my point is, Andy, is that having entered a plea of guilty to a serious offense, a very serious offense, especially more so because he's a Queen's Counsel and would have understood the seriousness of the matter to which he was pleading guilty. Can his evidence be relied on as credible, having regard to his own shifting positions, as credible in any matter before the courts?
Yeah, and the fact is that he had come back once, because I think the last time the matter was called in the High Court, I went to it, and there was a lot of high drama around when he was going to come into the court. The court had to be cleared and so on to make sure that everything was safe and so on for him to enter. And I saw him, but the process was at the point that nothing could have happened at that point. So it was just like a show, what you would call a show cause, if that is it. So he came and people saw him, and the matter was postponed, and he went back his way. So the question is, what is the fact that he got his indemnity and that was agreed to, how is he saying now that he would not testify? And it's been established that he's not saying that what he is alleged to have participated in was not the case.
Andy, it depends. We don't know the terms of the indemnity agreement. That has not been made public. And we don't know if some of those terms have not been satisfied. But there's greater concern to me as an attorney at law and as a citizen of this country. I was very surprised at the position taken by our present AG, Senior Counsel, Mr. Amoa, with regard to the position that the DPP took. He said he was stunned, he was confused, and I understand that, resources may be applied to ensure that both defendants, both accused persons, Mr. Ramlokan and Mr. Ramdeen, will be brought before the court again. And I wonder, what exactly does he believe the role of the AG is in pressing charges against anybody in this country? He does not have a role and function.
When he said he was stunned and surprised, do you think he was stunned and surprised because of the action of the DPP or because of what has happened, because Mr. Nelson has decided to...
No, I got after reading the reports, and I can only rely on the reports, I got the impression he was surprised and stunned at the position that the DPP took. The DPP is an independent institution, manned by, I must say, a very independent person. Why would you be stunned and surprised? You ought not to be, if it is the DPP has determined at this point in time, you are wasting the country's resources, time, finances, court time, etc. in pursuing this matter, especially if their main witness, perhaps their only witness, is refusing to give evidence in circumstances where that witness, one has to make certain assumptions, is not satisfied with this discharge of the DP of the AG vis-a-vis his indemnity agreement. And why is it that that person is before the court in a civil claim? What's the nature of the civil claim? More so, there was a question of payment of fees, etc. As a practicing attorney, it is my experience that the only time the state pays for the legal fees of a defendant in this country, whether or not you enter a plea agreement, if that person is financially destitute and seeks legal aid. Right. I have not known any circumstance where the state will undertake to pay the fees of the defendant's attorney because he's entering into a plea agreement part of that agreement or a term of that agreement being that he will give evidence against his co-conspirators.
Right, because that's another matter, innit? And that's what Mr. Ramlogan's attorney is saying, that this is very strange. Pamela Elder is saying that.
Yeah, but and rightly so. I mean, I would like the AG, the powers that be, to point this country in the direction where it is the normal standard for the state to pay the defendant's costs outside of the legal aid environment.
Yeah.
And to be eligible for legal aid, I believe your income must be under $3,500 a month.
Well, I want to come back on Mr. Nelson's position a little bit, but let me just ask whether what exists in any attempts that the state might have to make to get him to come back here. He can't be, so he's out of our jurisdiction. He can't be forced to come back here. He can't be picked up and brought back here.
And that is what the DPP has said, that he can't be forced to come back here. The alternative is to put his evidence in by way of paper committal, and hear what the problem is with that. The man already has a blot on his character, a stain on his character by having pleaded guilty. That's number one. Number two, in a matter where your main witness is not present and you want to put in a sworn statement, it means that that person is not available for cross-examination. And if you are not available for cross-examination, it also means that your evidence cannot be tested.
Yeah. And to what extent?
Cannot be tested at all.
Right.
So how can any court rely on untested evidence?
Yeah. To what extent Mr. Al-Rawi himself is vulnerable in this matter? Because in going into the matter, it turned out that he had made this deal with Mr. Nelson without any reference to the DPP at all, and so some people saying that was wrong from the start.
He had definitely overstepped his jurisdiction. He has definitely interfered in the jurisdiction of the DPP, and that has to be dealt with. He cannot do that. This is not, our jurisdiction does not allow for the AG to press charges or lay charges. The most the AG or any other citizen of this country can do is say, hey, listen, I have some information about a wrongdoing, and allow the police service and the DPP to do its investigation. But he apparently, and I say apparently because I haven't seen any document, apparently he went ahead and entered into a agreement with Mr. Nelson, which is not authorized at all to do according to our laws. So he's certainly over, and he has to answer for that. An investigation must be done not only as to whether he overstepped his authority, and I believe it is a non-disclosure sort of agreement, but not only that, but the terms of the agreement and whether that suggests or as we say, arouse the suspicion of the court, whether that will do that. He has certainly, in my humble opinion, overstepped his authority when he entered into an indemnity agreement with Mr. Nelson outside of the DPP's office. In any event, not only outside, has no right to interfere in the jurisdiction of the DPP at all.
Right, and you think it might be a violation of Mr. Ramlogan's rights here if there continues to be inquiry as to whether or not he did in fact pay Mr. Nelson a bribe, or Mr. Nelson paid him a bribe because he had provided briefs to him.
Right, so it redounds to the issue of whether or not Mr. Ramlogan and Mr. Ramdeen would be given a fair trial given the circumstances. Because when you start talking about giving a witness, which is in this case a bribe, and obviously you are interfering with the course of justice. And that will obviously be one ground under which one can ask for the dismissal of a matter. But so yes, he has interfered with the process, and whilst he may have thought that interference would have brought about the result that he wanted, it has acted in exactly the opposite direction. He, as an attorney of law of many years' practice, and in the position of Attorney General at the time, Mr. Al-Rawi should have known better. More than that, he was occupying a very high position in this country, subject to the scrutiny of the the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago and subject to the scrutiny of the Law Association and the fraternity to which he belongs, and he has acted, if he has in fact done what is said he has done, he's acted without integrity and has brought about an embarrassment, in my humble opinion, to the fraternity of legal practitioners in this country.
Yeah, well, he would not have acted.
Those may be strong words, but that is my position.
Yeah, and in your perspective, he would not have undertaken those actions without probably the knowledge and probably consent of the Prime Minister?
No, Andy, I am not going to get into that free. But one thing is certain. If he did or did not have discussion with his Prime Minister, I don't know. However, as a practicing attorney at law and the Attorney General, he ought to have known that his actions were not above board. I don't know who he had discussions with. I don't know how the government operates in the decisions that they reach in terms of their internal discussions. But certainly, in the matter of law, shouldn't the Attorney General be advising the Prime Minister than the other way around? Shouldn't his advice to the Prime Minister have been, well, listen, let us leave this alone and let the DPP and the police service do its job? He has interfered. And I am saying, based on his background, based on his position, based on his experience in the legal field, if he did it on his own, it's wrong. If he did it with the advice of another person, it's wrong. And he should have given appropriate advice to his Prime Minister with regard to the legality and the fairness of that sort of agreement.
Yeah, this is what he's saying. This is what a brief statement that he issued while in Parliament yesterday. I simply remind the media and the good citizens of Trinidad and Tobago for now that Mrs. Basad Bissessa has a vested interest in defending the members of the opposition, and that the allegations of the leader of the opposition are not new and have been parroted by her in different ways over the last few years. The full facts shall speak for themselves, and justice will be done as the allegations presented by her shall be refuted.
Yeah, what he has, as usual, said absolutely nothing, used a lot of words and said absolutely nothing. This issue is not about whether the opposition leader has taken a certain position in defense of citizens of this country. This issue is about his actions as Attorney General. Why is he trying to deflect? He has questions to answer. And this is not a matter that costs, Andy, when a person defends a person charged with murder on behalf of legal aid, the fee is $30,000, if so much, between $20,000 and $30,000, if so much. He has to defend what he has done. He cannot continue to deflect on the opposition and blame the opposition. I hold no brief for any political party in this country that is in government, meaning to say either the PNM or the UNC. But why is he deflecting? And he has said absolutely nothing. He has not answered the allegations that are being made about his involvement in this very nasty, sordid, and toxic affair. It's not answered.
Yeah, all right, we're going to have to leave it there. But thank you very much for your intervention, for your perspectives on it, Reka Ramjit.
Thank you very much for having me, Andy. As always, it's a pleasure.
You're very welcome. We will take a break, and when we come back, we start our journey around the region before we get to the rest of the program, which has to do with what in some people's minds is the hotly contested or the hotly organized elections for the new executive of the party in government, the People's National Movement. We're talking with Ashton Ford and Ahov Masaisai about that. Stay with us.
Diwali is in the air again, and Royal Castle reminds you to try its yummy veggie burger. The Royal Castle veggie burger is great on its own or in a combo with a side and a 16-ounce drink. And it's healthy too. A nutritious patty made with oats, lentils, chana, potatoes, and carrot inside a soft bun with tomatoes and lettuce. So for this season, try the Castle's tasty and healthy veggie burger. Shubh Diwali from Royal Castle.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on it.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is there no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit? Yes. What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive, it is not rehabilitative.
We the police officers, we are professional and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited. The law is to govern the whole, it's for all of us in public.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
Come travel with us as we explore Diwali across the globe. Diwali is celebrated in many countries worldwide, but do you know the traditions and practices of each nation? From Guyana to Australia, WESN presents Diwali Passport, October 3rd to October 23rd, with replays on October 24th. It's Diwali Passport, a WESN exclusive.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through. Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
Come travel with us as we explore Diwali across the globe. Diwali is celebrated in many countries worldwide, but do you know the traditions and practices of each nation? From Guyana to Australia, WESN presents Diwali Passport, October 3rd to October 23rd, with replays on October 24th. It's Diwali Passport, a WESN exclusive.
Welcome back to the program. Well, my next guest is, to say the least, a lifelong friend, but he, outside of that, and much of his life and times have been being around. It's a family heirloom, you could say, that he became a member of the People's National Movement. It goes back into his generations on the Ford side. His father used to be a county councillor. He himself was a member of parliament. He was a mayor of Arima. He served in the diplomatic service at the Trinidad and Tobago High Commission in the UK. And his last public appointment was as a General Secretary of the People's National Movement. We're talking with him this morning about these elections. There seems to be, well, a lot of excitement sort of just bubbling under the surface about it. There are no slates in the elections per se, but people have been advised from the advice that coming to us that they should or shouldn't seek the positions that they want because of what will be pleasing to people higher up. That and more we want to get behind as we talk with him on this issue. Ashton Ford.
Yeah, good morning.
How are you?
Okay, good morning, and your viewers.
Okay, let me just see if this is coming from this end. But, okay, so you're there?
Yeah.
Why do you think that these elections this time they are generating more interest than others in the past? Because I could tell you that it doesn't feel that way to me. Because I say there's no. Okay, let me just not say this. But what is your sense as to what is transpiring?
Well, it shows the interest the party has, despite the fact that as a government we are getting some, setbacks in terms of policy and so on. So there's a sense of eagerness on the part of members to contribute in terms of guiding the government in order to retain some kind of a massive popular support. Because we are in midterm now, and all governments that midterm go through a little bit of difficult period. And that's where we are now.
All right, let me ask you a staging question. There's been some discussion in the public domain about the fact that this election will take 2 or 3 days before we know what transpired. It's happening in stages, and people are asking, well, how come a general election happens in one day, we know the results the very night, and so on and so on. What is so special about an election in the PNM that it has to go through phases?
No. I'm not involved again, but what I know is that the General Council will decide on the process. I think like general elections and local elections, you have a special day put aside for special votes. And the actual day will be one day. So that's how I see it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing strange about having a special vote. In 2014, when I contested the election, I remember the special vote took place on a Sunday at Balize House. So I think this is the same format.
Yeah. And I said in the opening that there are no slates per se, but that from the information coming to us is that in some cases, people who wanted to go up for certain positions have been advised not to, and to let other people.
Well, I wouldn't know that, but from what I see, as a wide cross-section of the country, take for example the field officer position. You have David Trim, he's from Moruga, Curtis Shade from Tabaquite, Terence B. Pat is from San Fernando West, Abdon Mason, Point Forte, and Jose Ted from Sangre Grande. So I am seeing a wide cross-section of the country where people offer themselves for position in the party.
Yeah.
You know?
Some people are looking at the fact that there are 4 challengers for the position of political leader in the party, and some people are saying that some of those people have been put up to the contest so that they would split the votes for, well...
No, I don't think you have any split votes there. I don't think so in that political leader contest. And I don't think so. This is my view.
Yeah, it's an interesting proposition that the party has a political leader who is the prime minister, and one presumes that the party is continuing to support the political leader as prime minister, or the prime minister as political leader. Why would there be a challenge from 3 other people for that position, a political leader of the party?
Well, I don't. Again, it's midterm, so people feel they can help by taking over. Easing the strain of Dr. Rowley, but I don't see that happening. I don't see it happening at all. And as Anthony Roberts says, it's a democracy and people are entitled to put up their names, and contest. But it is not it hasn't brought any fear in terms of the party. I don't think so. We are not. I don't think the party members and the leadership or anybody have any fear for this. Leadership contest.
So it's a sense of the robustness of the party that there will be no hard feelings against anybody who challenges the political leader for that position.
No, but the record is there. Penny Beckles went up against him in 2014. Dr. Rowley contested against Mr. Mann. And they are all in the party, and they continue to serve the party, and they serve the in the...
But I want to tell you that I was sort of central to a certain extent in that election in which Dr. Rowley had challenged Mr. Manning, and there was bitterness at the end of it during the course of those elections, and even afterwards. Wasn't that the case? And there were people who were saying that he was wrong to do that. I mean, I went to a convention on the heels of that election, and because where I was at the time, I had given significant airtime to Dr. Rowley in that challenge. And on that convention, there were people who virtually chased me off of the convention floor because they said that I participated in trying to bring down Mr. Manning and so on. And therefore, there were issues about or concerning Dr. Rowley and Mr. Manning for some time afterwards, not so?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, they came together. And I remember I was in the opposition office with Mr. Manning, and Dr. Rowley wanted to have a press conference, and we organized it, except that we didn't hold it in opposition office. It was held at his office in Diego Martin. So there was still a link between Dr. Rowley and Mr. Martin. I think they displayed good sportsmanship, if I could put it that way, by maintaining contact with each other and having Dr. Rowley appeared on Morning Edition on behalf of the party and so on. So I can't recall. I know there was some kind of bad feeling after the election by some party members. But at the end of the day, we all get together and we forge ahead and won the elections in 2000, and when they had the 1818, and then we won by four seats.
Yeah. But why do you think, though, from your own experience and understanding of the thing from the inside, why would there be so many people wanting to displace Dr. Rowley as political leader?
I really can't speak for them, but what I can tell you is that sometimes people put themselves in a position to be noticed and then to benefit down the road, because they would be on the media, they would be all over the place, and the party members will get to know them, and so on. So sometimes people do that to get recognition.
Yeah, and it isn't fired on the basis of the fact that some people believe that he's not functioning as a political leader of the party as he should, in the same way that he's functioning as Prime Minister, and the sense that he has created a kind of expectation, because he had said, I like to use the term, he was unprovoked and he was unmolested on this matter when he said on the night of the last election that, look, I'm not in this thing, I don't want to be taken out feet first as other people may be, and that I want to go and do other things, I have places to go, we have people to see and so on. So he created an environment in which people, the level of expectancy was rising for people to say, well, okay, if he is intending to move on, as Prime Minister, therefore he has to move on as political leader of the party. So he's created a kind of, I would say, an atmosphere of expectation to which he's clamped down on in a kind of way. And when he was asked about it some months ago, he said, I'm not talking about that anymore.
Well, let me say something, Andy. Sometimes, people say things on the spur of the moment, but they're entitled to change their minds too. And I can't speak for him, but in terms of what is coming out in the public, he's still there, and he has offered himself to continue, and that's it. There's nothing we can do about it.
And
we will have to answer all those questions about why he changed his mind and so on. I can't answer for him.
And the question of, say, the position of General Secretary.
Well, unopposed.
He's unopposed, and there's a sense in which that is a power. You would know that's a power center in the organization, and there's a feeling that the person in that position now also has ambitions of becoming the political leader at some point.
Yeah, well, I remember in the party school under Eric Williams, he told us, when you are a councillor, you must always aim to go higher, either mayor. And when you are mayor, you could aim to be an MP, and when you are MP, you could have your eyes on the goal as leader. So this is a normal setting in the political arena, where you hold a position and you feel you could go up the ladder and you work towards it.
Yeah, and Mr. Al-Rawi, I think that position is unopposed as well as public relations officer. So he's going to be the next public relations officer in the party.
He was public relations officer before, during my time when I served as general secretary in 2014 to 2018. He was public relations officer. And as I said before, the party seems to be, a midterm crisis, and not crisis, but midterm problems. And they need a spokesman, and Al-Rawi fits the bill. And membership see that way because nobody's opposing it.
Yeah. What is this? It hasn't emerged in this round of the elections, but over previous times, the question always was that the party in government somehow gets estranged from the membership, from the ground troops in the party. Once the party is in government, and the longer it stays in government, the worse that situation is. To what extent do you know that there's been any improvement?
I didn't hear that question.
Yeah, that the party in government sort of becomes estranged from the support base of the party, and the longer it stays in government, the worse it gets for the membership in the party. What is your sense that there may have been improvements on that, or that hasn't changed?
Well, the way the party's constitution is designed is for each constituency will send delegates to General Council, and they will be raising matters at General Council, and that is not normally ventilated in the public. What will come out from the General Council meeting is major decisions in terms of the national issues, and that will come out. But in terms of bringing the minister to task, or the political leader, or a fellow officer, all that takes place in General Council, and sometimes at constituency group meetings. I know that I had to visit constituencies in the past when there were rumblings, and you have to deal with it, but it is not ventilated. And it is not good to ventilate those things in the court. That is PNM's policy. Keep everything in keep everything in such a way where we could bring peace at the end of the day and move forward with the party.
Yeah, and you honestly don't see anything underlying the fact that well, some of the people who put their positions on the line to contest against the political leader, and it said that is democracy at work. But you think behind the scenes that is not something that is, at least not for all of the contestants, is something that people will hold against them?
No. They said why you put up their name, and when we vote, we will vote based on what they say. So if some people believe what they say, they'll vote for them. And if they don't believe it, they vote for the other. But whoever, and most likely Dr. Rowley will retain his position. And if there is any bad blood after the election, that will be between individuals and not a party policy. It will be individuals who will feel a sense of hurt and react a particular way. But when it comes to the party policy, no one is victimized or held accountable for whatever takes place. And they move on.
Yeah. And you don't see any hard feelings on the other side of this among towards any of those contestants, whether it's for the position of let's stay with that, the position of political leader. It's not because there are people who believe that they could plumb the depths of discontent among certain groups in the party.
No. Look at the chairmanship. You have Stuart Young, Kenneth Butcher, and Farai Hoof Masai.
Yeah.
Masai is a young man. He's an attorney at law. He was a councillor, and he's head of the Haliconian Foundation, and he sees himself going up in a position that if he succeeds, it will be a victory for young people. That's how we see it.
Right. And the Heliconia Foundation is a group, to the best of my understanding, is sort of aligned with the person who is the General Secretary of the party, who is said to have his own political...
Yeah, well, I was there when they formed the Heliconian Foundation. I was there as General Secretary, I was there. And he was a youth officer before. Foster Cummins was a youth officer. He has been intermingling with the youths for a long time. And when we were in England, we had what they call the Trinidad Professional Group, Trinidad Tobago Professional Group, and they functioned in London. And it's the same kind of idea down here. There is a professional group of young people. They get together and they make recommendations, and they function in an organization that will benefit the party and the country.
And it's not that they want to use that organization to then to assume the ascendancy in the party, and the leader is the current General Secretary of the party.
But the leader of the Heliconian?
Yeah.
No, he's not the leader of the Heliconian. The Heliconian has an executive, or chairman, as I said. Farai is the chairman, or president as they call it. And they have officers of the movement, and Foster doesn't hold any position in that organization.
All right, but we gotta leave it there. Let's see what happens at the end of the day. But thank you very much for talking with us on this.
No problem, man.
All right. After 4, we will take a break for news. Much more after that. We're coming back to this question with the politics inside the PNM with Mr. Farai Hove Masaisai. Stay with us.
Here's your WESN News on the Hour. I am Denise St. Clair. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Investigation into allegations of misconduct ongoing at Superior West Secondary School. NGC signs purchase agreement for blue methanol. Opposition leader responds to the recent statement by Reginald Amor. Central woman reprimanded for assaulting husband. And internationally, dozens in hospital after gas leak at Pennsylvania Child Care Center. Now for the details. The Education Ministry has confirmed that there is an active investigation in relation to the allegations of misconduct by a staff member at the Superior West Secondary School. The ministry advised that the matter is being addressed according to established protocols by the School Supervision and Management Division and the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. The procedures and protocols for investigating matters of this nature are very specific in the interest of protecting students. A report was made of the alleged inappropriate behavior from a teacher toward a student on September 20th. NGC has completed negotiations with Gulf Coast Methanol One for a purchase and sales agreement that will allow NGC to acquire blue methanol from IGP's Gulf Coast Methanol project. This milestone achievement marks the culmination of several months of collaboration following the announcement of a term sheet signed by the parties in December 2021. The new agreement means NGC will soon be able to purchase blue methanol, a low-carbon petrochemical commodity, for trading through its expanding energy marketing and trading portfolio. Opposition leader Kamla Prasad-Bissessa says Attorney General Reginald Amor is a disgrace and a shameless liar. In a statement in response to the AG being stunned by the discontinuance of the Ramlogan-Ramleen case, Prasad-Bissessa instead sought to advise the AG to leave no stone unturned to recover the money he has cost the state for lying on an affidavit in a Miami court. She called on citizens to ignore the AG, whom she described as a lying and disgraced flop. A hairdresser from Chaguanas was reprimanded and discharged when she appeared before a senior magistrate for assaulting her husband. The 41-year-old woman was charged with assault occasioning actual bodily harm. According to reports on March 28th, around 12:10 p.m., a man was at a friend's home at Xavier Street, Chaguanas, when his wife entered the premises and struck him with a glass bottle to his head. The Gender-Based Violence Unit conducted an investigation into the matter, which resulted in the woman's arrest. In international news now, more than 24 children have been rushed to hospital after a carbon monoxide leak at a child care center in the U.S. state of Pennsylvania. Every ambulance in the city of Allentown was deployed to the Happy Smiles Learning Center on Tuesday. The early morning call prompted a large emergency response as multiple people were showing symptoms of poisoning. Some 25 children and 8 staff members were taken to hospital, with the majority now in a stable condition. Well, that was your news to the hour on WESN. I am Denise St. Clair. Thanks for watching.
Saturday, November 5th, Shore Park, Tobago. It's Million Laughs Caribbean Comedy Commerce, the mega laugh festival to end the Tobago Carnival season, featuring Tobago's finest in folklore and musical entertainment, together with some of the Caribbean's top comedians: Larry Joseph, Daryl the Saint Mendoza, Dolores, Alan the Entertainer, Handsome Son, Mako Media, and more. Get your ticket specials available on Island E-Tickets and various outlets nationwide, or visit the Million Laughs handles for more info. It's Comedy Commerce in Tobago, a wee kind of commerce.
back to the program, and as we said at the break, we're staying with the issue of the elections in the People's National Movement. Lots of excitement for the contests in several of the positions up for grabs this time. One of them is the position of chairman of the party. Our guest, Mr. Farai Hov Masaisa, is an attorney who's also a member of an organization known as the Heliconia Foundation. Several of its members are in this contest for different positions in the party, and the question is why. Good morning, good to see you, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Johnson, and thank you very much for inviting me onto your program. It's a pleasure.
All right, so let's talk about what your bid for chairmanship of the party. Why is that important?
Why is the chairmanship important?
Yeah, why is it important?
The chairmanship is very important to the party. It's a leadership position of the party. We know that party policy gets to become government policy once you're in government. I have been a part of the party central executive for the past 4 years. I have seen the critical role that the chairmanship plays in terms of leading leadership meetings, chairing executive meetings, chairing general council meetings. And it's certainly a position that I think I would add value to, I'll be able to strengthen. It's unfortunate that the incumbent has chosen not to go as chairman anymore, but the position, as you say, it's up for grabs.
Yeah, so from what you know, what your experience is, what are some of the things that the chairmanship of the party is in charge of, as opposed to, say, the political leader and so on? So the political leader is not the person
who chairs the party, yes. So the chairman chairs all meetings of the party once he's there. If he's not there, then it's the general secretary will chair the meetings. So he would chair the general council meetings, which happens once every month. He will chair the central executive meetings that happen once every month, and he will also chair the leadership meeting that happens once every month. Those meetings are usually minuted and sent to the constituency executives for them to share with their members. The chairman also is strategically involved in policy making. So the policies of the party, they are obviously debated at the General Council. The chairman will bring policies to the party. Whether the party accepts the policies, that's another thing. But it is an influential position in terms of policy development, and obviously the policies then will be sent to the cabinet for them to adopt.
You say whether or not the party accepts the policy positions, prescriptions
of the chairman. Yes, it's not a foregone conclusion that the chairman brings policy to the General Council and the General Council accepts it. There's always debate. So, for example, one of the policies that I have seen while I was in General Council was the policy with regards to Petrotrin and the giving of the lands of Petrotrin to the former workers of Petrotrin. That policy was debated at the General Council level, hotly debated, and certainly we saw this year that the lands were actually beginning to be distributed through HDC to the former Petrotrin workers. So it's a strategic position in terms of policy development, and I think I would be able to strengthen that position over the
You think people appreciate that enough about the role and function and the effectiveness of the party mechanism and structures when the party is in government? Because you hear those cries all the time.
So one of these things that, so I am a part of a team.
Yeah.
All right. Now the team.
But a theme as well.
TEAM. So the team is called the People's Champions. So the aim of this team is to bring the party back to its members. So the People's National Movement, we have roughly 100,000 registered members of the party, and those are the persons that we will be speaking to during this campaign. The campaign is about 6 weeks. The elections is at the convention on the 4th of December 2022. There would also be 2 prior days for voting, but the Election Supervisory Committee will announce those dates. That being said, the People's Council, as opposed to the General Council, so General Council is made up of 3 members of representatives of the 41 constituencies. Generally speaking, you probably get 2 members to attend every month. All right, but that is the cross-section of the constituencies that is represented at General Council. The intention of my team during this campaign is to bring that General Council atmosphere to the membership. Let the membership know what goes on at that level. Listen to the members, because we need to consult with them to understand their needs and their wants, so that we can develop effective policy that will not just benefit the 100,000 PNM members, but certainly benefit the entire citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. So the mechanism of the PNM is a party that has had a written constitution since 1956. So even in my decision-making process of to which office should I go up to strengthen this movement? I was able to look at an officer's handbook that was developed by Dr. Eric Williams since 1956. It's actually dated 1955. And then there's the officer's handbook for the officers of the movement. And then there is the PNM Constitution that governs the day-to-day affairs of the movement. So it's easy to read and to follow and to know where your bounds are. Yeah? So nobody can tell you this is what the chairman does. For example, last night I had the opportunity to oversee the annual general meeting for Barataria Sawa constituency. So I'm the coordinator there because there's no MP there. Yeah. At the meeting, there was an issue with regards to an interpretation of the Constitution. And being an attorney, I was able to assist the chairman, the outgoing chairman, in terms of interpreting how the Constitution is to be read. There was a word in there with it shall take place as opposed to may take place. And he wanted to exercise a discretion. I said, no, there's no discretion when they use
shall.
Correct. So, and these things are... I think the PNM is a party that fosters succession planning. And when I say succession planning, we have what you call a youth league. The youth league takes you up to the age of 25. In the past, say, 10 years, we have developed the Heloconia Foundation for Young Professionals. That actually was a brainchild of Glenda Marine Phillip and Foster Cummins back in '97. Right. and it was revitalized in 2013, I believe. So
there's no mistaking that the Heloconia Foundation is sort of a...
It is an incubator.
Right.
It's not in the Constitution because, as I said, it was only developed in '97 and it really revitalized in 2013 in opposition.
And will you deny that the Heloconia Foundation wants to sort of take over the functioning of the internal functioning of the PNM? Because
I wouldn't say take over. Yeah. What I would say is we would be there to strengthen it. So it's a good blend between the experienced politicians and the new politicians. But the new politicians, from my experience, what we would want to do is to add value in terms of our innovativeness, in terms of our ways of doing things. You know, everything is very instantaneous. We can do what you're doing, but we'll do it a little more efficiently.
Yeah, and you have some of your members vying for other strategic positions in the party.
Many of our members are vying. Say and accept the political leader.
Right.
We acknowledge he has been doing a very good job so far. And he's obviously the incumbent prime minister.
Why does he have three challenges for the position then?
Well, because we are a democratic party. Once you are a member, and I think what happened in the General Council just last month is that we waived the requirement for financial membership. So anybody, once you have your party card and we could trace that you have been registered, you can put your, well, nomination days has gone, but you could have, up to Monday, you could have contest any seat.
So what do you say to those people who are saying that he may be prime minister and functioning there in one capacity, but he's not functioning effectively as political leader?
No, that's an unfair statement. I would say, based on my experience, he has been performing as political leader. Now, the role of the political leader is not an administrative role in Balize House. The administration of Balize House is carried out by the chairman and the general secretary and the assistant general secretary.
Now, people will say that is what is on paper, but it's not so in reality. No.
In terms of the administration of Balize House, no, it is. In reality, it's the general secretary, the assistant general secretary, and the chairman. The political leader is there for the politics. He is there to win the elections. He and the elections officer are those officers that are carded in our officer's handbook to move the party forward, have that vision for the party, and ensure that the party holds governance.
Yeah, in spite of what I just said, I want to say that I have the greatest respect for the lady who's been running by the house for some time now. I think she's an excellent person.
Who's that?
I'm trying to recall her name, but the person who has been there, and I think I see her name as going up for one of the positions in there.
Who's running Balize House now?
Yeah, the person who takes care of affairs and events or gatherings in Balize.
Oh, she's the operations.
The operations.
That is Irene Hines.
Irene Hines.
Irene Hines, I give a round of applause for Irene Hines. Irene Hines is a gem of a lady. She is our operations officer, and she has been our operations officer for some time.
Right.
She's just good at her job. Now, operations is what all this setup. she ensures that the show goes on. It's a thankless job, but those who know Irene know who gets the job done. Irene Hines. She's an alderman in Digo Martin, I believe.
And then so the come back to the Helicone Foundation, do you have members who are again going up for some strategic positions in the party?
So I am there as chairman. My name is Farai Hov Masaisai. I'm an attorney at law of 12 years in practice. I wouldn't toot my own horn, but let me go on to the vice chairman. The vice chairman is Mr. Rondell Donowa. I think he is 11 years in practice.
I mean as a candidate for that position.
Vice chairman, yes. I think there are 3 persons contesting as vice chairman as well. So it's Diane Gatsby-Dolly, Mr. Brian Manning, and Mr. Rondell Donowa. But my horse in the race per se is Rondell Donowa. He's part of the People's Champions Initiative, and that's our team. We are here to be the people's champions. The people, and when we focus firstly on our members, so we are there of the members, by the members, and for the benefit of the members. When we get into office, we will change that by the people, of the people, and for the people.
And then you have an associate who is central in the Chinnapuna Regional Corporation. He's
a good friend of mine. He's not an associate. He's a very good friend of mine. That is Chairman Robinson.
Mr. Robinson.
Yes, but he is going up as the social media officer. Yes, so he is the TikTok bantan, as you would say. He's always on the social media. So he's better at being on social media, and he thinks he can add value. I think the last social media officer was Senator Singh, Avinash Singh. He has chosen not to go back up.
How critical that role and function is? Like we know that social media is the way of the world now.
Social media goes hand in hand with our PR. Certainly we have to get in front of the conversations and not be reactive to the conversations. That requires you to really be on social media, I suppose 24/7. If you could be on it 24/8 or more, you would have, all right? So because social media one bad comment can lead to a thread, and it could go viral, and obviously then you're paying the experts to try to out the fire. So the social media is indeed a crucial part for any political party in the Western Hemisphere who would want to retain governance or even vie for governance.
No, any kind of organization, it would seem that, because that's the way of the world these days.
Correct. Definitely. If you're not in charge of social media, then you're not saying anything much. So I implore the PNM members to vote for our social media officer, Mr. Kwesi Robinson, vote for our youth officer, Mr. Ndale Young, vote for our vice chairman, candidate for vice chairman, Mr. Rondell Donowa, vote for our assistant general secretary, Ms. Janelle John Bates. So we have I think we have candidates in every position. So just look for the youthful face.
And your general secretary, who is going to be, in your estimation, is going to be the general secretary again. He's a critical part.
He went in unopposed. So he's already there. I think there was the lady vice chairman unopposed, the general secretary unopposed, and the PRO unopposed. So there are certain positions offices that flourished during the COVID, and certainly the general secretary position has flourished during the COVID. He has done human service to the party. We see that we have a central headquarters in Chaguanas now that was opened under him. Our membership has increased. I think when he went in, it was around 60 to 70,000, and it's now 100,000 members. So certainly that is something me, as being chairman, would be looking at, to increase the membership, the open membership of the People's National Movement. People shouldn't feel ashamed to be a part of a party called the People's National Movement.
He's remained above the criticisms about him and his performance with his credentials.
Indeed. So you can't. No, I don't know anyone in La Joqueta, Talparo constituency that would say that their MP Foster Cummins is not a performing member of parliament. For him to be balancing both being a member of cabinet as well as being the general secretary, as well as being a minister of government.
Well, I mean, on the public record, he appears to be that way.
He's one of the trailblazers in the party. I'd say that. All right, and he openly endorses the youth, And certainly his portfolio as Minister of Youth and National Development has augured well, not just for the party, but for the nation.
You think he's biding his time before he moves for the position of political leader of the party?
Politics is something that you have to bide your time. You know, Dr. Rowley has indicated that he does intend to challenge in the next general election, and so certainly if our opposition remains the same, we are very confident.
Why do you think he's changed his mind? Because I was making that point earlier.
Yes.
On the night of the last election, he gave a hint that he didn't want to stay there too long and overstay his welcome because he had places to go and things to do. And I always like to say that when he said that, his wife was standing on the side of the podium in front of the people, and she left and went up on the stage and hugged him and they kissed. But he changed his mind.
But that's life. Like sometimes in life you have epiphanies and you change your mind, you know. But you're entitled to that change. I'm certainly, as a member, I'm happy that he has changed his mind. It gives for more mentorship for the younger politicians coming up, and certainly him being one of the more seasoned politicians, we can only learn from him. You know?
There was a time when the chairmanship itself had a lot of weight around it. I remember when Francis Privat, the late Francis Privat, was chairman of the PNM. He was minister through the Senate and so on. I think was Dr. Saith.
Yes, Rennie Saith. Yes.
So those are two of the figures to me that stand out. To what extent their personalities and probably their record as chairman of the party is something you look back on to see how you want to. Fashion the chairmanship?
I personally, I would be looking at the ones that I could recall. So yes, you have called some eminent names in the People's National Movement there. But in terms of my lifetime in the movement, I could really recall
Franklin
Kahn and Imbert. You know, call him Imbert. He may be small in stature, but he's a giant of a man. He can command a meeting. When he comes into the meeting, you know he's in the meeting. And he chairs the meeting well. So it's really unfortunate that he has chosen not to carry on as chairman, but certainly if it is
that he's making way for the youth, right?
Well, he by his actions he is. By his actions he is. And we know action speaks louder than words in these things, and he has chosen not to. He could have gone up, and he probably would have gone up unopposed. But he has chosen not to, and certainly it is a way for either myself. I see Mr. Butcher is there, so he's of the older school politicians as well. But myself and Mr. Young.
I thought that was an interesting name to see in a contest in the PNM because
I actually saw him yesterday in Barataria, so he's still around.
He came to public attention as a footballer in high school and so on, and then he ended up as a member of the party that was opposed.
NER, yes. But the nature of the People's National Movement is that we welcome all. So even though some may stray and so forth, they do come back. We have Winston Gypsy Peters. He's a member now. He was a member of the People's Partnership Cabinet before.
So he's back in the PNM.
Well, he's there as a member. He attends meetings, I suppose. I suppose you'll say he's a proper member. He's a chairman of a state institution as well.
Certainly, he's been able to straddle, the field politically in a marvelous way.
Indeed. So I think the attractiveness of the People's National Movement is in its stability. We have elections when they are constitutionally due, and the democracy of the party allows for competition. And hopefully we will see that translate in the next 6 weeks. Certainly all the candidates will be campaigning, they will be canvassing, they will be trying to lure our people and say why they are the best. But I'm saying for the chairmanship, certainly Farai Hove Masaisai is the best candidate for chairman.
You have other, in addition to what we may have been discussing here over the last few minutes, there are things that you want to do and you want to be in a position to do as chairman of the party.
Indeed. So one of the things that I definitely would want to do, because I do consider myself a youth, even though I have 3 children, I'm still a youth, I'm under 40.
Yeah,
I'm still a young man.
Good.
I want to have a regional Young Leaders in Politics conference. The antagonistic style of politics has to change.
When you say regional, in the Caribbean?
Caribbean. Yeah. So on both sides of the spectrum, opposition and government, and the in-between. And have that conference there for the young people who would like to have a life in public life, to come and learn from the older heads, as well as to give their perspective. You know, we have seen it just in, I believe it's in Greendot, they have elected their new prime minister about 3 months ago, Mr. Mitchell, the younger Mitchell.
Yeah, 44 years old.
Correct, and so there is a space for young people in politics, but they need to know and understand what it takes for public service. And certainly that is one of the things that I want to do in, say, the first 2 years of the 4-year term.
So you have that right on your agenda.
Right on the agenda. A regional young leaders in politics conference.
How do you work to get out of the sense that politics is corrupt and it leads to corruption?
Well,
the process is
to get out of that sense,
uninviting.
We have to get good people into politics. Yes, we have to get good people into politics, people with integrity, people with a track record of service. We have to get people into politics who are not going into politics for, say, their livelihood. You know, if you have your career and you want to give back to your country, that is the kind of person we want. We want persons who are not there just for self-gratification, but certainly for servant leadership and to give back to the people that have put them there, and not to forget the people when they are in governance. You know, I think the Calypsonians always sing about that. When the politicians get into governance, they just you can't get into contact with them. For me, for example, I got into active politics as a councillor, and I went in as a local government councillor, even though I was practicing for about 3 years as an attorney, and I chose to go in as a local government councillor because I grew up in Belmont. I am a son of the Belmont soil. So when I went to screen, I screened for the area that I grew up in. And one of the questions at the screening committee level was, why have you chosen to be a councillor? We could just bring you as an alderman. And I was like, no. I want to know what is on the ground. And the councillor's job for me is having your finger on the pulse. You know, and if you get people who are there to serve the people and people who are there not to serve themselves, I think we're on the right track. We are on the right track.
Well, we're going to leave it there, but when you come back after, you shall have ascended to this position as chairman. You want to talk about, you talked about earlier about the toxicity in the politics, not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but elsewhere and so on. But to the extent to which isn't that a function of the democracy, but we will leave that for
we'll leave that for another interview. But thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. It's a pleasure. I believe this is the first time I'm on your show, and I just want to say thank you very much for having me.
And it was a pleasure talking with you, and I want to say that it is the start of things to come. I wish you all the best. We wish you all the best in this contest, and we'll take it on the other side of that. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that's our broadcast for this edition of the program. We thank you for watching. We thank all our guests. We tell you in half an hour from now, the guys will come in for today's edition of Talking Point. There'll be news at the top of the hour before that. But until then, see you tomorrow.